So welcome back, and I can't do an election episode without talking about a major point of contention around every provincial election, and that is voter turnout. And in the past election, voter turnout rose just by a little bit to 45%. The Conservatives won roughly 43% of the total voter turnout. The Ontario Liberals won 30% of the voter share in the province, but they have 11% of the seats. The New Democrats couldn't crack 950,000 votes. They own 18% of the voter share, and they have 22% of the seats. Guys, is it finally time to embrace electoral reform as a major party platform for the Ontario Liberals? Are you guys the ones that do it? I'm going to throw it to Heino.
Absolutely, I think so. And our grassroots want it. We saw it in the last federal get-together we had in May 2023, where the grassroots, 60% voted, yeah, we need a citizens' assembly. And many of those, they want a change in the electoral system. It just seems weird to people that we get 30% of the vote and 11% of the seats. And that has people checking out, like, what is this sort of system? So I was actually elected for city council back in Denmark. It's a proportional representation system there. I've seen both, and what it does when you have proportional representation, it's a less divisive system, less divisiveness in politics. You see higher participation. 80%, that's low participation in Denmark. And I could go on and on for an hour. Yeah. I'll say there's a segment.
I don't think, have we ever had 80%? I got to get someone to the control room to check that. 80% of the vote. Josh, so he pitched PR. Yeah. I've always pitched ranked choice. Yeah. Number 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Like, what are you thinking?
I think regardless of whether it is proportional representation or ranked ballot, I'm personally okay with either of them, because anything is better than what we have right now. But we do need electoral reform, and I do think that the Ontario Liberal Party, our leadership, our policy committee should make that commitment now going into next election, that something around electoral reform will actually be in our platform next election.
So, and can I just interject here? One thing is what I like, one thing is what you like. Yeah. We need to find a system that's right for Ontario. Yeah. So that's why I propose we get a citizens' assembly to look at this again. Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys know this before I throw it to Ashley. In 2007, the Premier put it on the ballot, Dalton McGuinty, and it was rejected across the province. The big cities wanted it, all the other rural parts didn't want it. Ashley, electoral reform, should it be a major party platform? Sorry.
Absolutely, because there's so much voter apathy, right? And I feel like so many people start seeing polling and they think, oh, I can't go out and vote. It won't even matter now because so far this person's up in the poll. And then it really discourages people. So I think 100% that these ideas that you put forward make sense. It's just whether or not someone's going to go through with it. Like you said, it's been on the ballot before. It's been out there. Why hasn't
20 years ago.
Absolutely.
20 years ago almost, right? And the only people, so I still use Facebook because I'm a dinosaur. And I made a post about how you have to do the biggest takeaway from this election has to be the fact that the Ontario Liberals got 30% of the vote and they have 11% of the seats. And the only people pissed off about my post, Conservatives. The Conservatives. And when I did a little bit of the math here, the rural parts, there's still 30 safe seats for the PCs, right? So, like, I mean, can it be? Do you think if it was put on? You're from Europe. My brother lives in Italy. In Italy, you pick the prime minister and you pick the party you want. I think it's the same kind of thing. Do you think the public, not the party, the public is ready for this?
I think so, yeah. And we've seen across the world when people have been having the chance to try. First past the post for a while, then try proportional representation. They stick with proportional representation. You don't see a movement in countries that have proportional representation saying, we want first past the post. Doesn't exist. Yeah. And that's for a reason. So, yeah.
And like Ashley kind of said too, a lot of people feel disenfranchised right now when they're voting because they read the news, they see the polls, and they go, oh, my vote is not going to count at all. We need to change that. We need more people to use their voices on election day during advance polls, and that to actually get out and have their voices heard. And electoral reform is one way to do that through a new system.
So, in Niagara Falls, are they ready for electoral reform? Like, would a ranked ballot have made any difference in this past election, right? Wayne Gates.
he blew it out of the water. Like, and we're an anomaly down in Niagara, right? Because all of our incumbents, aside from Sam Oosterhoff, right, we're all NDP. So it really is a lot different than other ridings that we saw with polling and what ended up happening with the results. But I really think that there should be more civic discourse. There should be more involvement, and that's one way to do it is by making that reform.
Just don't do what Trudeau did. I have to go to a commercial. Don't do what Trudeau did and break your promise, okay? We'll be back right after this. So we covered a wide variety of topics, from voter turnout to policies to the leaders in the last election, but we're not done here. Join us next week for part 2 of this special episode about the Ontario Liberals and the last provincial election. Guys, thanks for coming on tonight.